So let's talk about VAT. So in the sense of VAT and understanding Moreton and how it's preparing for VAT. So the chair mentioned, Doug mentioned it up front, it's likely there'll be a change of government. That probability will perhaps sit through Labour. If Labour come in, we know from the some of the media articles that there's likely VAT to be added on people fees. Now, mainstream media, I will say, has been quite alarmist in this, or certain papers have been quite alarmist in this. But I have noted more recently that those headlines, grabbing headlines, have diminished. There's become less so. And I think that's because once they start to realise the potential for detail and the impact, there may be a link there. What I tend to focus on certainly is articles written by the Independent Schools Bursars Association. Have been very useful, lots of guidance in terms of approach, and importantly, they demonstrate the reality of such a move if it was brought into play. And I'm hopefully I'll be able to share some of that feeling. Of course, the caveat is always, with any article that's written, how the certainty on how VAT will apply to independent schools is not going to be known until the legislation is written and released. But there's likely to be a settling in period if it is introduced. I want to talk about probability and timing and actually some of the realities. If there's an election, mid-November is regarded as the most likely, and the window for that will close in January 25. If there's an action, if there's a change as a result of that election, Labour come in and that VAT is introduced, the earliest they can do it is 2025, and therefore it will potentially link to the new tax year in 2025. So in terms of time, in terms of impact, taking the myths versus reality, if VAT is introduced to people, it is most certainly going to be at 20%. But of course, if VAT is introduced, it then allows the current exemption to be able to reclaim VAT on educational supplies to be lifted. So therefore, schools would reclaim VAT as well as have to pay VAT. So therefore, the net impact is assessed at 10 to 15% as opposed to 20%. And then when you drill down and look at Moreton Hall and our particular circumstances, you've also got to appreciate that housing, i.e. pupil accommodation boarding, is likely to continue to be exempt, i.e. you would only pay VAT on your tuition element. And Moreton Hall, though parents online will recall, the bold step to reduce our tuition element almost as an early strategy to mitigate against possible VAT introductions last year by up to 20%. So that is particularly played to our advantage. There's also something called the capital goods scheme, which applies to works and construction, alteration, refurbishment at levels over 250,000, and you are able to then reclaim your VAT against your accounts, and you can backdate it, and you can take over for 10 years. Now that particularly plays to Moreton Hall when you think of the outline of these stable investments that I've outlined previously, so it plays to our advantage. And another factor that sometimes people miss is that inflation was at 8-9% last year. Those really high levels. The government are forecasting now, certainly by the summers, for that to have reduced down to 3.5%. So in terms of overall fee increases, again, that plays to the independent sector's advantage. So if you bring all that together, coupled with the offset benefits, particularly to Moreton Hall, reduced inflation, the fact that we've got an investor strategy committed to keeping Moreton Hall attractive, I will even suggest that any increase of fees is unlikely to be in double digits, as may be experienced by most other independent schools. So that's really encouraging. And there's a final point really about the staff, and again, this plays to the importance of the staff being the key ingredient. It's clear from all of this that reliance on good facility management is going to continue, and things like widening the skill set and understanding by the financial controller on tax matters is going to be increasingly important moving forward. So to finish, summarize two key underlying messages. I think there's a future science development plan that puts Moreton Hall at a particular advantage and reassures that there will be no VAT shock to fees at Moreton Hall. And clearly we'll be sending out a communication on this as we firm up in terms of what that fee looks like in the future. But hopefully this opportunity to chat has enabled us to be more transparent in our approach to